Okay, let's talk about kETH. All right, Phil, do you wanna walk us through what's a kETH and what it does? I can see 3-4 coins here. All right, let's talk about it.
Okay, so let me explain about the kETH for strategy workflow. So the kETH is a kind of index token. It implements the tokenized vault standard. So here you can check the high overview of kETH vault and strategy workflow. So users will deposit wrapped STETH, RETH, and DETH into the kETH and mint kETH based on the asset value they deposited. And also their deposited funds are directed to kETH strategy here and managed by the strategy manager. So the strategy manager will manage the assets ratio of the pool by swapping assets into these. So yeah, if he wants to reduce the assets ratio of wrapped STETH or RETH, they can sell wrapped STETH or RETH for these via DEX and these for. So we call this kind of swapper. We call this as a kind of swapper logic. So we in the first version we will sell wrapped STETH and RETH via the core pools and buy these from these vaults by selling it into these vaults, and they get these from these vaults.
What's the purpose? Like, why is the strategy, like, you know, from your understanding, why is the strategy trying to bring in more and more deeds? What is the, like, why would I do this in the first place? Why if I have an STETH, why am I putting it in this smart contract to get kETH? Like, what am I trying to do here, really, as a user?
The EPR of this is much more than the RETH and wrapped STETH.
So you're trying to get like a boosted yield on like the liquid staking token. So you're trying to get like a benchmark network rate maybe from all of these assets, but like supported by the higher than average network yield from the.
So my question is, I have STETH, right? I have like some STETH in my wallet. I will deposit this STETH somewhere, and then I'm going to get kETH for that in return.
Yeah, you can deposit STETH into this kETH vault contract, and then it will automatically mint kETH for the depositor. So the mint amount is based on the asset value.
Right. So can you open Lido.fi? So basically, like, if STETH has if you're in the browser, so STETH has this kind of rebasing property, right? It just rebases every time, and it's going to give us like additional STETH. So if I deposit my STETH, I will, but the problem is I need to swap STETH to get ETH from market. Like, it's just immediately like sellable, tradable. But it's not 1:1. It's trading like, I don't know, 0.9 something like that. It's a discount. Is it? What is the benefit of me coming and putting my STETH here? Is it going to give me more yield, or is it going to give me like ETH back, whatever that tokens that I have in kETH?
More yield in long term. And
in what token? In what token it's going to give?
The user can burn kETH, and they will receive DETH and ETH. We only transfer ETH and DETH to the users.
So why ETH and DETH? Why not you give us, when you burn the kETH, when I deposit STETH, why don't you give back STETH and ETH? Is it because that it's not redeemable for ETH immediately?
Yeah, so it's a kind of yeah, you can't get ETH from STETH or RETH. So
okay.
Yeah, there's kind of
so I kind of
core pools You can sell wrapped SDs and RAs via code pool, but we solve it
that is swap.
immediately and
That is not
transfer it to-
redemption. That is
yeah,
a
yeah,
swap
there is no
function.
redemption.
Okay.
It will be, yeah.
So you are saying that you put STETH, you put RETH, you get a higher yield, but the yield is 1:1. You will get ETH for that at any given point of time when you burn the key. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Go ahead. So it's kind of a yield booster and slippage dampener. Oh, neutralizer, slippage neutralizer, something like that. You kind of get a guarantee that whatever the kETH balance that you have, you can walk away with ETH.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, and also what strategy manager does is that they can manage the Ds assets by depositing Ds into service manager. It's not implemented in this drawing, but the Ds is managed by the strategy manager. Ds is deposited in service registry. Yeah, there are kind of couple more features like.
Who is this guy? Who is a strategy manager? Who has the money?
Strategy manager is the manager of this case strategy. So strategy manager handles all the assets like wrapped SDs and RAs and Ds. They also manage to sell wrapped SDs and RAs to Ds. Yeah, they manage the assets ratio of the strategy.
Okay.
So let me explain about the case on logic. So as I already mentioned, the users will only receive ETH and Ds by burning kETH. So when a user decides to burn kETH, he will come to our board contract, kETH board contract, and redeem ETH and Ds based on his share of the pool. So here the point is, yeah, we swap the wrapped SDs and RAs of the user for ETH by the core pools and transfer ETH back to the user. And for these values, these assets, we just transfer these back to the user. So yeah, as a result, we'll receive only the ETH and Ds from the kETH board contract.
But I suppose when the withdrawal comes, the users can just burn that ETH and get the ETH back from the Stakehouse protocols. So like an unwrapping of wrapped ETH. So really, it appears to me that this is a strategy for going long on ETH, but with a yield, right? So
yeah.
Okay. So in theory, you can with a side contract, you could deposit any asset into kETH, right? Like kETH has these initially day one assets, the wrapped STETH and RETH has deposit assets. But you could write a contract that would, like, say, for example, this contract would is like a periphery contract that sits outside of it. Anyone can write it, it will I don't know, let's pick a token, USDC, user deposits USDC, and then that is swapped for maybe ETH or something else. Maybe the kETH could take ETH as an asset.
Yeah, we can enable ETH as a kind of handling assets of this case vault contract, and we can write a wrapper contract which will accept USDC from the users and swap it to ETH via DEX or some whatever, and deposit ETH into kETH vault contract and receive kETH and transfer kETH back to user. We can write a contract outside of these kETH vault contracts. Yeah, more
so
like a wrapper contract.
That contract would have like a recipient parameter, and it basically would it would just send the kETH back to that recipient.
Yep, exactly.
I guess the good thing about USDC or something like that is like a low slippage trade. So you can get a low slippage trade into kETH. If you don't have so basically out of the box, if you do have, wrapped, I mean, you can get wrapped STETH anywhere from the STETH, right? Just not supporting the rebasing directly, but then if you have that or RETH, great, you can come to the kETH. But equally, if you can also support any asset, right, via a side channel that brings ETH into the kETH vault and basically gives you the yield through the accumulation of DETH over time, right? So the DETH, but so the DETH side of things, you said it's above network average, so how does that work in terms of it's like, where's the commission here? Is there commission? Is there commission built into kETH? kETH having any kind of commission, or is there no commission?
Kind of target emission.
Target emission. Oh no, I meant commission. Like there's no money taken by the strategy manager, right?
Oh yeah. There is no zero fee.
Okay, zero fee. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. But then, what is the target emission you said? And what are the levers that you're using to control that? Oh, target APR. So, but what levers are you using as the strategy manager?
We manage the assets ratio of the strategy. So that's why we sell wrapped STETH and RS for these. Yeah, the target APR will be the same as this APR.
But so how are you doing that? Like in terms of managing the ratio. So what kind of in contract levers can the strategy manager use to manage that?
So strategy manager sell wrapped STETH and RS for ETH and deposit in DETH vault and get DETH from the DETH vault. And so also,
where does the DETH come from in the DETH vault?
Yeah, we introduce a kind of DETH vault contract where the DETH holders deposit DETH and get ETH back. So the DETH holders, no slippage. So they basically the DETH. So DETH vault is like standalone. They have independent DETH LPs, and they're putting their DETH there in the hope that the kETH strategy will buy their DETH for ETH, right? So basically, you can take DETH out of the DETH vault if you give the ETH, like it's 1-for-1, right? Yeah, with 1-to-1 rate.
Okay. So basically kETH can do that, but anybody can do that, right? So in terms of additional periphery contracts, right? You could write a periphery contract not just around kETH, that would bring, any asset, into ETH and then deposit it into the kETH, right? Strategy, but you can via the vault, right? But you can also write strategies around the DETH vault, basically anyone that wants to buy DETH, they can just, as long as they present ETH to the DETH vault, they can just do that, right?
Yeah.
I have a question here. So DETH user put the DETH into DETH vault, and they get 1:1 ETH for that. Correct?
Yeah.
And kETH utilizes DETH vault as a go-to-market where it buys DETH from the DETH vault 1:1 for ETH, and it supply ETH. Right? It swap ETH for the DETH, and the DETH vault will give the DETHs to the kETH vault, and the kETH vault will actually give the ETH. So it's kind of a fixed rate OTC, right? Or the counter, right? It's basically there is no slippage here, but the DETH provider saying that we will provide you the DETH for 1:1. Make sure you buy it from us as a preferred customer. And
with
the D,
one rate.
yeah, and 1-to-1. So we don't charge you more. Just we have a deed, but during the course, the way the deed holder may have received from staking or may have received the deed from outside market, right? It's a deed. Deed is like fungible token.
Yeah, right.
So if they receive the DETH from staking, and then if they have a DETH, it is a yield bearing token as well. So it's part of an save. They might have received some inflation rewards from staking. So they might be positive, net positive from the day before and the day after. And the longer they hold the DETH, they will have more and more DETH mintable from the underlying save share. Is that so? The DETH holder is looking to provide 1:1 rate for ETH to kETH, and kETH will buy 1:1 for the DETH, so it doesn't really incur any kind of slippage going to a pool in a Uniswap or somewhere, because those are marked to market. Here, you're basically doing a trade mark to inventory, right? It's just the order book.
Yep.
And the reason, so there is no slippage for both the parties to sell it or to buy it. I mean, it's a nice deal. Okay, I get it. All right, but now, why kETH? The kETH is buying 1:1. Is it because of it's DETH and it's because of LST, or is it a rational decision the kETH smart contract is making? Anytime a DETH that it brought from the DETH vault from elsewhere, it can get 1 ETH that it is paid at the beginning, right? It can redeem it from a smart contract perspective itself, right? From the partial withdrawal or withdrawal, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right. So kETH has a rational reason why it is paying 1 ETH. And of course, when the kETH gets a DETH, the same scenario we explained for the DETH holder, you hold a DETH in an index, so you'll actually you can curate how much you're going to yield because you're curating save ETH and underlying, always a DETH is earning some rate. If you curate it, you get a better rate. If it is an open index, it's an open index rate. So you always have a claim to an underlying yield. So kETH can have the DETH in the index, and they will, over the period, the DETH that they brought not only give 1:1 redeemability for the ETH, right? It can redeem, but it is also yield accruing, correct? Because otherwise it's just an ERC20 token, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so now I get it. Why there's a slippage-free trade agreement between the DETH vault and the kETH. So they both benefit, and both the parties are benefiting holding the DETH somehow, just for the additional yield.
But if I put DETH in the DETH vault, just say I'm not going to lose my yield, right? Because it gets staked in the Save ETH registry, right?
Yeah.
So it gets staked in the Save ETH registry. So it will keep internally, it will keep a Save ETH, so it will keep going up, right? I'm thinking I put DETH in the DETH vault, great, because I want somebody to buy it for ETH at some point, right? 1-for-1. So, but there's an opportunity cost, right, between time of deposit and time of somebody buying the DETH from me, right? Whoever that is, right?
Yeah, but your carry is positive because you're basically putting you're yielding anyway, so you're not losing.
Right.
Anything.
So if nobody buys it, I can pull out, and there's no carry cost, right?
Yeah.
You're saying it's positive, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the catch.
The catch is you want to get an ETH back slippage free, and might be some sort of a additional emissions from some tokens, like protocol tokens, who facilitate this kind of things, right? Because they're essentially getting ETH as a liquidity here. It's kind of a liquidity curation, right? You have
I can unwrap the DETH, right?
Yeah,
unwrap the DETH.
You can trade it. You can trade it to any pool if it is a selling on premium or discount, but what is the basic principle here is so the delivery versus payment, right? You go to a smart contract and you pay the DETH, it will give you ETH back. That's the withdrawal contract, right? It's atomic. It's atomic redemption. It is not a so the DETH is kind of a settlement coin, right? It can anytime 24/7, it will settle you for ETH at same denomination, whatever you have.
Okay.
But if you trade it, that's the mark to market, that the market can basically buy it on whatever it is. But a smart contract can settle it. That's the difference. You don't really need any external interference. Okay, cool. What else?
So yeah, it might be the diagram useful, might be good to maybe walk through some code, maybe.
Yeah, so let me share my screen for the code base. Just a minute.
I guess anyone, anybody else, if you have any doubts, questions, just jump in. Just feel free to ask them.
Yeah, so
all right.
First DETH vault. So we call DETH vault as kind of K wrapped S. So DETH vault is a kind of vault contract where these holders come and lock their funds for the ETH back, or the ETH holders come and swap ETH for DETH with one-to-one rates. So the DETH holders lock DETH, and yeah, they deposit DETH and they mint the share token based on the assets value. And also they can withdraw DETH for ETH or DETH. They can select ETH or DETH as a kind of withdrawal token. And also the ETH holders can join the pool and provide ETH and get DETH back with one-to-one rates. Yeah, they get the exact amount of DETH back from the DETH vaults. Yeah, these are the main features of the DETH vault contract.
So right. So basically you're saying, the initially a liquidity provider is there's no way to, I'll rephrase that. There's only one way to deposit DETH and there's only one way to deposit ETH, right? So depositing DETH is because you want to have somebody buy that DETH for ETH. And then the only way that you can deposit ETH into the DETH vault is if you're buying the DETH itself, right? So when you deposit, it'll mint a share token, based on the underlying assets. But then, as a DETH LP, let's say you put 10 DETH in, depending on the demand for the DETH, not all of it's necessarily going to be purchased. So when it comes time to withdraw, you originally had an LP token that represented a 10 DETH deposit. And so, when it comes to withdraw, you might still have 5 DETH and some ETH, so you'll say, yeah, I'll take the ETH that's there, or you can just say, I'll take, I don't know, I'll still take 10% DETH, right? So, but your LP token will limit how much ETH and DETH that you can withdraw on the basis of, a one-to-one, the LP token is one fund for either DETH or ETH, whichever way.
Yeah, right.
Got it.
And also, what I want to say is the service manager logic. So all of these liquidity are deposited into service manager for more, yield generation. For that, we introduced this kind of service manager logic, and this is used for kETH strategy as well. Yeah, kETH strategy as well. In this service manager logic, there are a couple more features like isolating node from open index, add node to open index, rotate service. And also, since we are,
I think it might be useful just to like touch upon what like the the difference between like a DETH save ETH in the open index versus like isolated, like why the strategy manager might do that, like from a yield perspective, just so that like, people can see how this is like a sort of a wrapper around the save ETH registry, which is where, the DETH is like able to accrue yield, right? So if you give some context there, that's helpful.
Yeah, you can deposit DETH into the service registry, and you get the service. And by isolating, not from the open index, you can get more yields. It's more like the boosting yield. Yeah, and
right.
But here the point is that to withdraw assets from the isolated, we need to add node to open index before the withdrawal. So we introduce a additional withdrawal check before the withdrawal action. So we track all the isolated keys, and before withdrawing, we loop through the isolated keys and try to add node to open index while there are enough funds to withdraw. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and also we track all the service balance changes, because we need to track all the assets changes. Sorry, in our DS4 contracts. So this prevents some malicious user transfers, some types of assets into our DS4 and try to manipulate our logic. But it is this is to prevent
to
that
mess
kind
up
of
the
malicious
accounting.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it for the DS4. So, and next is the case vault. On the case vault side, there are two contracts implemented. So one is the case vault, and the other one is case strategy. So the vault contract is to handle the users' interfaces where users can deposit assets or redeem assets. So these deposits and withdrawal functions are those functions just redirect to the strategy contract deposit and withdrawal functions and yeah, let me explain about the deposit processing first. So as you can see in the deposit processing, users can deposit any underlying assets supported by the strategy, and they so in deposit processing, they mint the keys back to the users, and for the withdrawal processing, they bond the keys and transfer ETH and DETH back to the user, as we already discussed. So this deposit and withdrawal actions are handled by the strategy. So in the deposit processing, we just check if the underlying asset is supported and is less than the minimum deposit amounts, or if it's DETH, we just deposit into service registry directly to generate yield. Yeah, and also we check if the assets reach it to the deposit setting. We also have a logic like the deposit setting for each token. And for withdrawal processing, we look through all the assets, holding assets, and try to calculate the amount to withdraw. And if we, yeah, since we only transfer ETH and TETH back to users, we have some additional logic to convert assets to ETH and TETH. So if it's ETH, we just transfer it to the user. And if it's TETH, we need to, there is no additional logic. If it's service, we need to withdraw TETH from service. Yeah, this logic is the same as the default. And for any other tokens like the wrapped STs and RS, we need to swap the assets into ETH via core pools or other DEXs, whatever. So in the initial version, we will use the core pools for wrapped STs and RS. So as a result, users will receive only ETH and TETH back by pulling the kETH.
But the longer they hold, right, the more underlying ETH that they will, in theory, ETH/TETH that they'll get back.
Yeah.
So the DETH will never get slashed?
They just get the portion of the TETH liquidity based on their shares of the pool.
No, what about the pool has like, you have DETH, STETH, everything, right? Or it's just the...
Yeah. And those all these liquidities deposited in the service registry, the same as the default. We use the same service manager logic here.
So how is this like you're giving a fixed rate for all those people who are holding a kETH? kETH will have a fixed rate. Because it has like, if you look at the kETH vault, right? It has STETH, it has RETH, it has DETH, but then you give the users back the kETH as a ERC20 token, right?
Yeah.
But the kETH will have an yield coming out of it. It's a fixed rate for all these tokens, underlying tokens it holds.
Yeah, their withdrawal assets just increased. So we don't provide the yield like increasing the kETH balance. We provide the yield by allowing users to withdraw the exact share amount of the liquidity. So the total assets liquidity increased by the time, and the kETH holders can just own their kETH and get the exact share of the pool. Yeah, whatever the assets is and Ds, the wrapped STs and RS, those all holding assets. But the shared point is that we sell wrapped STs and RS to ETH and transfer ETH and TETH back to user.
Yeah. So why? I'm curious about this. In ETH, you have STETH and RETH. I'm holding STETH and RETH in one hand, and I have DETH on the other hand. And I'm telling, I have another token, the kETH, you can basically withdraw, and then you're going to get some yield of the kETH, right? 4%, 4.5%, whatever it is, right? There's one fixed rate of yield for the kETH, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So whenever there's a slashing on Ethereum consensus layer, this RETH and SETH will take a hit, right? I mean, every stake in, the synthetics, like basically like you have a deposit tokens and representative tokens. If there is a less balance on the other end, then there should be less token get minted, right? That's clear to what has been forfeited by the consensus layer. So the slashing, what about the DETH? Is the DETH will like get will ever get reduced, like the rate? what are the inflation rewards getting would be slashable? Is it slashable or not? This is what I want to understand. Why DETH is being treated as a protected one to get this kind of strategy to work.
So, yeah, maybe I can step in here. So, interestingly, when a validator is registered in the Stakehouse protocol after sending money to the Ethereum deposit contract, the 32 units of Ether that go into the deposit contract, they get repackaged. So they get repackaged in 2 tokens. The DETH that we've been talking about a lot. There's 24 units of that. And then the second token is slot token. So there's 8 units of that, making the full 32. Now, the way that it works is the repackaging does 2 things. It repackages all of the consensus layer inflation rewards that normally go to the BLS key of the validator. It repackages all of that is normally given to, like, if you're like a vanilla staker, and you set up your own node, you don't use a protocol, you just do a direct deposit to the deposit contract. You're gonna your BLS key will accrue inflation rewards, and then it will get swept into your execution layer balance, and that's it. Your full 32 ETH investment is getting the inflation rewards swept from time to time, as long as you run the validator and keep it online. So now with Stakehouse protocol, the repackaging doesn't just split into the 24 and 8. It also redirects all of the yield, the inflation yield, into the DETH. So 24 DETH is getting 32 ETH worth of inflation rewards on the 32 effective balance. So it's like from a concentration perspective, the concentration is higher in the 24 DETH. So the slot token is not getting anything. From a consensus layer perspective, you can put slot token to the side. So DETH is the consensus layer inflation rewards are getting, the 24 units are getting like all of the inflation rewards from the full 32 effective balance of the validator. And so that is where, and DETH is commission free. The Stakehouse protocol at the base layer does not have any way to inject any commission down at that level, right? It is truly non-custodial. Nobody can touch your yield. And now, what about the slashing? The original question. So the slashing is absorbed by the slot token. The slot token is the slashable token that can that takes on the impact of any issues that originate at a node, right? So that's where issues originate. So at a node level, so the node, if a node is running 1 validator or 10 validators, all the validators in the node will experience problems and will be reflected in the penalties. But that gets taken care of by the slot token, which is the slashable, and it can also be topped up. It's not just slashable. The once the node issues are fixed, it can be the slot can be topped up and the situation can be rectified, never affecting the D. So if you have 24D today, you will have 24D tomorrow. What it yields depends on the node or the operation of the node, but you can never, anything that's been accrued cannot be taken away, like in terms of inflation rewards. Once the consensus layer does a sweep, a partial withdrawal, and puts it in the execution layer, the Stakehouse protocol will guarantee that DETH is mintable and redeemable. So that is why DETH is not an issue here, right? So you can never go like below, like you can't say, oh, from one moment to the next, DETH is redeemable 1-for-1, and then tomorrow it's redeemable 0.8 to 1, or anything like that. It's always a 1-to-1 on the basis of the actual balance that the consensus layer knows about. So maybe that helps.
Yeah. So what you explained is like you have DETH as a token, which is underlying the save ETH. It never slashable. That means there's a 24 tokens per validator, and then there are all the inflation rewards accrued by the validator will get added to that validator by validator basis. And the DETH, holding the DETH will always give this kind of settlement of 1 ETH back, right? To the coin. And this is done by the Stakehouse protocol. Now, other interesting thing that you mentioned is like it's kind of a range, like every validator is a range, right? Holding the DETH will allow you to curate specific validators, right? Save ETH shares. And you can continuously optimize those save ETH that the validator base yield. So if you see like 100 of the validators are yielding today better, you can basically curate them using the DETH, and then you can also like remove some of them and add another, or maybe you can add more and more. It's kind of a very concentrated yield and also concentrated, segmented, not concentrated, segmented, portfolios, right? Of the validator at consensus layer. You can basically check the consensus layer and say that, does this save ETH, like the DETH and save ETH, will actually gives you this BLS key on to counter check, to check with the consensus layer?
Mm-hmm.
Would it give the underlying mapping to the validator? Because you go to the consensus layer, you need a BLS key, right?
Right. So this is where the save ETH is stepping in here. So the save ETH. So when you're staking your DETH in the save ETH registry, you can have the protocol manage you can have the protocol manage the DETH, and it will give you it's an open index. Anyone can put their ETH in there, and it will distribute rewards as it wants to. But you can also isolate. So this is what like Phil's showing. So you can basically say, I want my save ETH to be specifically attached to this validator that I know is yielding very well. And that can be, and every validator can be like, you can rotate in and out. Your fungible token can rotate in and out of the yield that's being generated by different validators. Because what you can do is you can use our Stakehouse monitoring product, and you can say, right, okay, well, I've just spotted that there's this validator that's all of a sudden got a whistleblower reward, or it's basically it's just got a sync committee, and I know that in 5 days' time when the sweep comes, the yield will be higher. So I want to isolate it. If that is in the open index, I'm going to isolate it, and I'm going to keep it for a few days. And I know that in a few days' time, I'm going to get paid out like higher than if I just kept this, if I kept the save ETH in either the open index or against another validator that's maybe the yield is poor because of poor node performance, or whatever it is. You can all these things are highlighted within the Stakehouse monitoring.
Cool. So you have a mapping in the smart contracts. All right, I get it. So save ETH will allow you to kind of take the batches for the save ETH are the batches for registered along with the BLS key. All right.
Yeah. Save ETH. You can think of save ETH like semi-fungible. You can always get a fungible token. Like you can always, if you go to like a cash machine, you can always withdraw cash from your bank into your wallet. But that cash doesn't yield anything. So that's like. But then you can if you if you put it in the save ETH registry, that's when you start accruing yield and making your DETH grow bigger and bigger. So yeah, you can attach and detach and isolate and unisolate from different keys, right? But you still have the fungible nature of the token, and it's still tradable in DeFi. It's still compatible with existing existing workflows in DeFi. It's just a matter of there's just a matter of imagining the next strategy that you're going to build that's going to take advantage of this. Really, you can arbitrage this to using the balance reporting as well. Sandwich that in between. It's all kind of things that are possible, and the consensus layer is just giving this yield out, just giving it out. it's just programmable in a token for you to do whatever you want with it. Build whatever strategy you want.
Okay, cool.
That's I think that's the point of these even if you don't want to use, if you're not a kETH user, if you're a developer, you can take these templates, you can take kETH, you can take LSD, and you can use them as a template for implementing a strategy. That are there for that purpose as well. So you don't have to be like a user of it like directly. You don't have to, but you might be interested from a development perspective. How to build your strategies. If you're a searcher looking for yield, and you might do things via PON as well. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, that's great.
So how does the swapper thing work, Phil? Like in terms of, you mentioned the swapper earlier, so we have these so you have the swapper interface, and what is the goal here, with writing swapper adapters?
Yeah, so let me explain about the swapper logic. So as I mentioned earlier, we need a swapper logic to swap wrapped SDs and RAs for ETH and GETH. So we introduced separate swapper contracts for each token pairs. As you can see, we introduced RAs to GETH, RAs to ETH, and wrapped SDs to GETH and wrapped SDs to ETH. So these four swappers are using the core pools to sell wrapped SDs and RAs. And to get these, they use these vaults. They provide ETH to these vaults and get these back with one-to-one rates. So yeah, this is just the initial version. So if we want to use another DEX like Valence or Univ3, we can implement a swapper contract and add to current case strategy. Or let's say if we want to swap ETH for these, not via this vault, but we can via any exchange platforms or any markets, we can also introduce a new swapper and add it to the current strategy. So this swapper logic will make it easy to upgrade, access, swap, and invest logic. We don't need to deploy a new strategy contract and migrate to funds for that. Yeah. So this swapper logic is more like I'm gonna give you 1,000 USDC. Just give me back 1 ETH, something like that.
Right. So you can their goal is to put out ETH.
Yeah, it used the same interface like the Univ3 router.
So this is what we're seeing here, these parameters, right? So token in, what token output you want, and the minimum amount out.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is should be familiar territory for people that have built and written strategies on top of Uniswap v2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that minimum output amount protects against the slippage, price change, anything can happen. In that time period. So got it.
Yeah, and after that, what I'm going to explain is about the strategy migration logic, by the way. So we also have the strategy migration logic. So the logic is that we just transfer all the funds from the previous strategy to the new strategy, and we call the accepts migration function of the new strategy. So we loop through all the holding assets and from the previous strategy and transfer all the reserves to the new strategy contract. here for the security, we check if the assets is enabled in the new strategy. And we need to check if we have a kind of check before transferring assets here. And in the new strategy contract, we look through all the holding assets and calculate the reserves. This reserves should be calculated properly to track all the assets reserves in the strategy contract. So we calculate the total assets based on these reserves values of the assets.
This is a complete, you're jumping from one strategy to another. You need to move the assets to that strategy. So you have an accept migration approach that will take this, it will take these assets in.
Yeah. Here, the vault owner can set a new strategy, but we check if the previous strategy exists, and if the previous strategy exists, we just call the migrate funds of the previous strategy and call accept migration on the new strategy.
Yeah, and I suppose an alternative to this, which is, so it's up to whoever's deploying it really. It's like you can also ask people to just say, yeah, just remove your tokens. We've deployed like a completely different set of contracts, right? Like a whole new suite, go and withdraw and then deposit there. Like you have two options there.
Yeah.
So I guess it's really flexible. If I wanted to change strategy, then and I wanted to say, so, well, instead of I want to do like an LSD strategy. So what I can do is I can say, okay, so the strategy is that Vault will only take ETH deposits. And so that's your deposit asset, set whatever deposit ceiling that you want, because obviously that's configurable. So it will accumulate ETH until the strategy manager interacts with the strategy. So then what it can do is say, right, okay, this is an LSD strategy. So, LSD, that has been the tooling built on top of the Stakehouse protocol, right? So this is a way of pooling ETH and to accumulate either more ETH or fees and MEVs rewards, or whatever your like. So you have like an LSD strategy, and you might have like a sub strategy in that. But anyway, you then say, so I got this ETH, and people, because it's a kETH, right? People want to accumulate a staked unit so they want to accumulate a staked unit of ETH that is yielding. So there's no point the ETH sitting in this strategy doing nothing. It may as well get deployed, to the beacon chain. So you take the ETH and you put it in the giant pool of the LSD network, and the giant pool will give back the strategy like a giant LP token, and once that ETH is actually staked amongst validators, so node operators can call that ETH and say, yeah, I've got a BLS key registered, I'm going to take that and I'll go and stake it with the consensus layer. At some point or another, if you like going down the protected staking route, you're going to get back a ETH token. So you can burn that, as a strategy manager, you can manage that giant LP token, get the DETH, and you basically can accumulate. You can have like a DETH vault-free way of accumulating DETH. So you just basically accumulate more and more DETH by being like a giant pool LP, like a protected staking giant pool LP. Now you can combine that with depending on the risk tolerance of the strategy manager. So you might say like, oh, okay, well, I'll do my I'm going to do like super safe strategy, like pensions funds, they do this kind of thing, like people will go to work, they'll and then when their paycheck comes, it will say, yeah, minus X amount for your pension, and then you can configure your pension, and you can say, right, okay, well, I'm on the lower risk of the lower risk category, so I don't want to invest in like too risky stocks. So I'm okay with a lower yield over time, right? So you could take that approach and take a protected strategy approach. So whatever the network rate is for DETH, you're going to go like 33% above that. So you might configure the kETH strategy, the LSD kETH strategy, to deposit 95% of the ETH that comes in into the protected staking and 5% into the fees and MEV, right? Because the thing about fees and MEV is like, the upside is unlimited, but the downside is, zero, right? So you basically, your earnings are between zero and, infinity, basically. And this repeats itself time and time again, right? But if you're taking a low risk strategy and low risk LSD strategy, you might say, okay, well, 95% of the ETH is going to go into the protected staking, 5% is going to go into fees and MEV. So you have this like base, this like fixed rate yield from the protected staking DETH, so the DETH is coming into the kETH strategy, right? So, not by the DETH vault, but now by the, burning giant LP, and you're just, every time minting the derivatives. And then you're also like topping that up. Any yield you get, you're topping it up with any revenue that you make from fees and MEV, right, on the network. But you can go much more aggressive. You could go like 60% MEV, 40% protected staking. You can play with this in whichever way you want, right? The goal here, is just you just want this to accumulate DETH and just get staked unit exposure. That's what K is. kETH is just a staked unit exposure and gives like a benchmark rate against which you can have a look at any liquid staking token. Because right now the industry doesn't have that, right? There's like in traditional finance, you have like the S&P 500, benchmark rates, and people's reports against that. Our portfolio, performed relatively to the S&P 500, performed this way, right? So that's what you can do with kETH as well. You can say based on the benchmark rate kETH is setting, moon liquid staking token is, plus minus whatever it is, right? But the combinations and permutations of like what's possible here is big.
I guess one more thing that is really cool about this is that we can hedge against different rates as well. I mean, just how we do in traditional markets. If like the fee, I mean, MEV and fees pool is going to like surge a lot because of some deployment. You can always hedge against that by having a more secure strategy, and you can always keep shifting to maintain your hedges. Like you can keep changing your bets. So that should be also really cool with this.
So when you say hedging, what do you mean? Like other protocols, you get a 1 unit rate for all the stake rate. So if you go to I think a Beacon chain has this kind of a stake offered rate, right? You just take a median average of the entire stakers offered rate. But here it is like, regardless of which LSD that you hold, you have this kind of one rate. So you can you get a kETH. You can just, all the people actually can, regardless STETH or RETH or DETH, they can put it. But this if the protocol is trying to do some kind of a rate swap, that's what you're trying to do. Like protocols like Waltz, they do like derivatives like 8 billion in open interest. That's a the derivative market is like huge, right? In financial market. So if you want to do any kind of rate swap between MEV and inflation rewards, right? That's the two rates that you have in ETH staking. One is the inflation that is minted the new ETH. Then the other one is ETH getting paid out from the transaction and execution layer. So if you're trying to get some sort of rates between the two, is that what you're alluding, like MEV fee and pool? Because we've seen this jackpot just getting sometimes 700 ETH. People get consistently like 5 ETH, 10 ETH payouts.
Yeah, absolutely. And also this MEV and fees thing is kind of, you can always predict it in somewhat in like future only, because you already know what are the big deployments that are coming, airdrops that are coming. So you can always kind of you always know that there might be a surge on this kind of fees. So you can always shift your strategy so that you have a better hedge against like long-term inflation rewards. So you can always maintain. Yeah.
But it is dynamic, right? It's not really like it's the kETH is kind of like giving you this kind of risk-free rate. You can always swap it.
Yeah, that's the benefit only. Like you can always swap it to more secure like way of earning when you know that the earning is stable in the inflation side. You can always do that. You can keep moving, jumping.
So would this benefit for all the lending protocols that who want to provide some sort of a rate for lending and borrowing? You get this kind of a unified rate, and then you just go through kETH. Yes, you can accept STETH, you can accept RETH, but because you can just slippage swap, and a slippage free swap through the kETH.
Oh yeah, that would be like really great. I mean, you can just deterministically, the lending protocols can say how much is the like collateral worth here. That would be really cool.
So is it possible, like Phil, a slippage free swap through kETH and to get the ETH and redeem it for ETH? Technically.
Sorry. From kETH to this?
Yeah, so you have like STETH and RETH, and you just come through the kETH, and then, because you have the kETH, and then you burn the kETH, you get the DETH and ETH, and then DETH also can be burned for 1:1 ETH, and you just burn it. You just walk away with ETH. It's like complete slippage free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Right.
Okay. Nice.
That's possible.
Right. Interesting. Cool. I'm not going to stop you. Just keep going.
Yeah, so one last thing I want to explain is this assets registry. So this assets registry is to calculate the assets value in ETH. So currently we support wrapped STs and REs and TEs as underlying assets. So to calculate the total assets, we need to calculate the correct amount in ETH. So if it's wrapped STs, we convert the wrapped ST to STs, and we get STs value from the chaining pricing oracle. And also if it's REs, we get ETH value from the Rocket token contracts. And if it's service, we go to the service registry and calculate the ETH value from the service balance. So by introducing this kind of assets register logic, if we want to add a new asset in the future, we can deploy our own pricing aggregator for that new assets and add that assets into this asset registry, and it will calculate the assets value correctly. I mean, this asset registry contract will return the asset value in ETH value.
So the goal here is kETH is extensible from an asset perspective, like the underlying assets that it supports. Yeah.
You mentioned we can support giant LP or whatever LP tokens later in the future. So if then we can just add the giant LP as an underlying assets into the kETH strategy, and also we need to register that giant LP assets and the pricing aggregator for giant LP as well. So,
yeah, and I mean, in theory, I could also, I could make it an additional asset, or I could just with my, this idea for the LSD strategy, kETH LSD strategy, I could just, simplify it, like only take ETH and then, just accumulate more and more DETH over time, plus ETH as well. If it's including a fees and MEV strategy, because fees and MEV strategy just pays out. So yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think that's all from the case for the strategy side.
How does a user see this? Do you have anything like any UI, like when they come?
Yeah, so we have a UI design. So just a minute, I'm preparing it.
UI from a user standpoint, right? But the contracts can call this from in a contract call perspective, right? So this is like from a user who depositing, they can use a UI, but any contracts can call the pay and to send the SDE and RE and everything, and call the strategy manager, call the swap function, everything like that.
Yeah, sure. Let me show you design. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the UI design for the kETH vaults and these vaults. So at the homepage. So at the homepage, it will show the kETH vault and these vault, TVL and APR. And also it will show the your deposits value for the SDs and RS and Ds, and also your earnings. And the main point is, let's start from these vault. So as I mentioned, these holders will deposit these and means these vault share token. So they will users can input deposit amounts, these deposit amounts, and it will means the share token. And also for the withdrawal processing, they can specify which token they want to withdraw. You can select ETH or Ds as a withdrawal access, and you can select input the withdrawal amounts. It's more like the pooling the share token and receiving ETH and Ds back. And yeah, that is for the Ds vault side. It's more like deposit and withdraw. It's more like minting share token and pooling share token. And on the kETH vault side, users can deposit SDs, REs into the kETH vault contract. User can select the deposit token, and also users can import the deposit amount and deposits into kETH vaults. They will receive the kETH token back. And for the withdrawal processing, users can import the kETH amount they want to redeem, but at the first time there will be like 30 days lockup period. They should wait 30 days to withdraw, redeem the kETH.
So that question, so the 30 days, this will get lesser and lesser as we go? Or is it like first bootstrap problem?
Preparing the liquidity, for at the first time we will allow users to deposit wrapped STs and REs only, but in the later we can support DEs deposit, and in the meantime we can just swap wrapped STs and REs into DEs.
We can also add additional tokens, right, as we go.
Yeah, in the later, like USDC or whatever. And if it's kind of another asset like USDC, it will interact with a wrapper contract outside of this case for contracts.
So you can basically use any kind of tokens, right? As we go, it's a direct staking, like it's kind of a meta staking to the ETH staking, like using any tokens. But currently it's STETH, but you can actually use wrap BTC, wrap anything, USDC, USDC, anything, like as long as the kETH will accept that as inside pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
And if the 30 days have passed, they can withdraw they can pawn the kETH and receive ETH and TS back. So users will input the polling kETH amounts, and we need to update, but they should show the estimated ETH and TS value received after the withdrawal action. And yeah, I think that's it for the kETH side. So in the withdrawal processing, users will get only ETH and TS back. Even we support USDC as an underlying asset, but in the withdrawal processing, it will be always ETH and TS. And also, we will introduce the PSN farming. It will allow users to deposit kETH and own the PSN as a kind of, it's more like a barter chip logic. So users can deposit kETH and try to owning PSN.
Would it be possible other protocol can provide farming to kETH as well? Get some liquidity? Like they can going forward, like it's totally like use a kETH as do a router, and then you send through our protocol, and then get the kETH. We manage it for you, right? Because we are the kETH holder, and then the deposit to kETH will also get some farming.
Yeah, we can, since the current
other protocols. So I'm a depositor, right, to kETH, right? I deposit STETH and RETH. What I get kETH in return, right? So if I have a protocol, I say send it to my contract and I'll deposit for you, right? The way that we want to, and then we will burn it and then get kETH, and then we're gonna we may have to do slippage swap, or we may redeposit. We do arbitrage with the kETH, because kETH is like widely used as a single unit of staked yield, right? And we can reuse it. So me as a protocol, just using kETH, a contract to InstaDApp, Idle Finance, all this kind of aggregators, like they can just simply open a vault and they will accept the tokens there, and then they will send that to the kETH, and they're the one that smart contract is the kETH holder. Now they can actually provide farming support for that, right? In the kETH, you put through this and you will get some sort of tokens. No?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You can try to own the PSN, and also, the current case is fungible token. Is transferable.
Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. And you can bribe it with that tokens to increase the yield or decrease the yield or whatever it is, because kETH strategy need to put the fixed rate, right, at some point. It need to adjust, right, from time to time. It's at 4.5. It's because as more and more liquidity comes, it just, you need to give this kind of a fixed rate from time to time, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. Okay. All right. So is it deployed somewhere in Goerli or is it
Yeah, it's deployed in Goerli.
okay? Okay. But the UI is not available yet, right?
Yeah, and also we have deployed some mock contracts for code pools and SD's aggregator for the chaining pricing oracle. It's more like preparing the testing environment in Goerli testnet.
Right. Right. Okay.
But on mainnet, we'll use the correct code pools for SDs and REs, and also we will use the SDs to ease chaining pricing oracle.
All right. I think that's good.
Great.
Any questions, guys?
No, I think well explained by Phil. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Phil. Thanks for the kETH.
Thank you.